Okay, nobody's ready for this, but I'm gonna hit you with some real shit. The declining birth rates in a lot of Western countries is a problem. But I wanted to address something that somebody said earlier. Oh, yeah. I misread Gotron. I misread your comment when you said the freight problem. I saw later that you put birth rates. Yeah. Okay, nobody's ready for this, but I'm gonna hit you with some real shit. The declining birth rates in a lot of Western countries is a problem. You know, it is a real problem that exists. And it is something that we need to be talking about in some measure. However, it is an emergent property. A declining birth rate is an emergent property of other material circumstances, mostly having to do with the kind of economic factors that go into raising a kid. Shocker, right? Whether or not you can raise a kid affects your decision to have kids. Having kids fucking sucks. Like, I'm not gonna mince words. So there needs to be a robust sort of system of social programs and protections that can basically support people economically while they're raising kids, which means you're going to have to let people work less. You're going to have to build cities that are more friendly to, building long-lasting social connections on foot, rather than everything being atomized and compartmentalized to the level of like being in a car and asking for a sitter online occasionally. You can't do that anymore. Two parents, or even like two parents and two grandparents, just isn't enough to raise a kid. There's a reason that the saying exists that it takes a village to raise the child. The problem is we don't have the village anymore. The God's honest truth, the way that you fix the birth rate problem in every first world nation that is experiencing it, you have to rebuild the village. You have to rebuild the village. And you do that by strengthening social safety net programs. You do that by building cities to be more walkable and pedestrian friendly and not just friendly to cars, so that people can get around, so that the city is a family friendly place to walk around and exist and play in, so that kids can, actually go outside and hang out with other kids and families can meet each other. So that school can be like a regular social fixture of the neighborhood and stuff like that. That's how you fix the birth rate problem. If you address these material factors, then you make it more appealing of a prospect to have kids. People, not even though having kids sucks and raising kids is really hard, people want to have kids. So if you work hard to implement a policy environment so that the circumstances are there to support people when they have kids, people will have kids. They'll have a lot of kids. Yeah, for a lot of people, for most people, it's genetically hardwired into our brains at some level that we want to have kids. It's a very rewarding and emotionally satisfying and fulfilling experience, even though it sucks, But you can't address that. You can't foster that urge. You can't enable people to have kids and raise families and fix the birth rate problem if you're not willing to invest in the society that supports the village that raises the child. We've let the village decay. And the thing is, that's not by accident. The fascists want the village to decay so that things can be more atomized. They want things to be more atomized so they can easily control women and minorities, but mostly women, right? Fascists fucking hate women. Fascists advocate for breeding camps and shit like that. As you mentioned, Gotron. Specifically because if you are able to saddle a woman with bringing up a kid with no means of social escape, with no means of support apart from herself, it is that much easier to control them. And I mean, this goes for any person, but let's be real. They're mostly directing this effort so that women will be the ones raising the kids. I mean, no fascist would be caught dead supporting somebody being a stay-at-home dad while their wife was out working an office job, or God forbid them taking turns raising the kid, or asking for help from like a sitter or going to some family members, shit like that. You know, they'll say that they like that, but then they'll object to literally anything that makes that possible. You know? Yes, at the core of it, the reason they talk about birth rates is just because fascists have a breeding fetish and see women as baby factories. That's it. You know, and it all makes sense. You know, you approach it with that lens and you like listen to them decline to support literally any positive social safety policy making that would make it more appealing to have kids. The only thing they ever want to talk about is how the like traditional family values are declining and we need to stop letting gay people adopt kids or something, you know? And of course, a lot of these people are also anti-vax, you know? Fucking rejection of modern medicine. Like, yeah, that's going to solve the birth rate problem, making sure that more kids die every time, like, a kid is born, making sure the infant mortality rate goes up. Like, good fucking going, genius. No, it's just about controlling women for them. For a second, I thought those red shells were mushrooms. I am very cooked today. Oh, I'll get to RFK Jr. That was another big topic I had reserved for this stream, but yeah, I wanted to address that about like decreasing birth rates and stuff like that. It is an emergent property of the destruction of the village that is usually the one that raises the child, you know, the whole community. You got the parents, you got grandma and grandpa, you got cousins, you got more distant family members, you got families down the street, family friends, you got people at school, maybe the teachers that you trust, you got some teenagers in the neighborhood that volunteer or like, I don't know, work for cheap to be a babysitter. You know, you're supposed to have all these different resources as social infrastructure to raise a child from the time that they're born to the time that they're 18 or even in their 20s. You know, it takes a long time to... Oh, I hit the microphone. Sorry. It takes a long time to mold people into a grown-up person that's capable of going out and then being part of that village that raises the next kid. You know? But conservatives don't want to put in that effort. Because, you know, well, there's a number of pathologies there, but ultimately just because they want to have sex slaves. That's it. It is truly just a fetish thing for them. Yeah, and they're also repealing all the child labor laws that we used to that were in place for the protection of kids from exploitative conditions in the workforce, so that they could more concentrate on learning the world around them, so that the process of bringing up children could be more efficient, you know, so that we could more efficiently, with comparatively less effort than it used to take, bring a kid into the world and educate them on what their surroundings are, and then like, okay, great, now you're ready to navigate the workforce on your own potentially and become a grown-up. And Republicans are like, no, fuck that, because like, genuinely at the core of it, they just hate you and me and everybody, and women particularly, and minorities, and just want all of you to die. I would be lying if I said that there's something more complicated behind it than that. They're just abusive, like, miserable pieces of shit. Sorry, I'm in baby park mode right now. I kind of have to concentrate. Okay. Blue shell. Sorry, Luigi. I didn't get a box. Didn't get that box either. I didn't get that box either. Give me this. Nice. Sevens? Okay. If you're that horny, why not just pay a prostitute? Because they're anti-sex work, too. Literally, they hate to see a based queen winning and earning her own living or some shit. They think that's, like, degeneracy or something. That literally, like, the sexual pathology runs so deep. And a lot of the guys that fall into this trap you know, this like ideological trap, I've explained this, are themselves sexually insecure and they want like connection. They want connection, but they don't want to have to work for it. They don't want to have to fucking improve themselves as human beings, you know? It's not actually about the sex necessarily, right? People have an easy enough time getting off. You can just junk it or something. It's not really about that, you know? Elon Musk's the perfect representation of a fascist. That's true. He is all of the material interests of oligarchical technocratic fascism, and all of the insecurity of like lonely ass fucking like genuinely degenerate like fucking loser alienated young man who's like fucking hates women kind of fascism rolled into one extremely stinky package. Bet you $100 Elon Musk would not survive high school. Yeah, sure. You know, I'm prepared to lose $100 on that bet. Yeah, because I think you're right. You know, I would take that bet knowing full well that I'm wrong, and would pay you $100 when I am proven wrong, because he'd probably kill himself halfway through. Thanks for watching, and support the channel if you would be so kind.